This week we're talking about putting smarter to work and building the next generation ecosystem. To make this happen, IBM has made the necessary investments to help you differentiate and win. To drive differentiation in the marketplace, we must put our solutions in the context of clients' industries. In this next segment, Martin Schroeter, Senior Vice President of IBM Global Markets, will provide his perspective on specialization and invite three of our partners to share their stories, how they shift to higher value and experience accelerated growth as a result. Please join me in welcoming Martin Schroeter to the stage. Martin.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much, John. You know, I think, look, John went through a lot of data, and I hope you got excited about what you saw. For me particularly, I feel a lot better now because when John first called me, he said, and these are exact words, and I feel better now that I have context. He called and said, Martin, can you participate with us in Partner World because you're simple? I'm like, well, but now I understand. So now, John, it makes a lot more sense. So I should have come yesterday to your rehearsal, and I would have felt better all morning. But anyway, thank you, John. It was wonderful. So good morning, everybody. And I too want to add my thanks for what you do with us. I want to add my thanks for being our partners. And I like to add my thanks for all the time. You know, Ginny, as she noted yesterday, we do take the time commitment that you make to us very seriously. And we hope that you're getting the value you need out of this. And we hope that you're getting some great ideas and you're making connections all the time that you're spending with us. Now, there was another constituency here that John didn't mention, and we haven't done this before. We had our investors, and we had some of our security analysts here for the last few days as well. And that, you know, touch wood, that worked out, I think, pretty well. We're seeing the reports, but in those reports, we're getting the same trends, we're getting the same themes, and those reports really reflect a culmination of everything they're hearing. And they talk with our clients, and I'm assuming they talked with you. If you had like a barrage of multi-part questions, that means you were talking to one of our security analysts. But that reflects what they're hearing from, not just from us, but what they're hearing from everybody. So we did something new, as John noted. We changed a few things in the program, and hopefully everyone's enjoying it. The feedback so far has been, I think, quite positive. And it's been good to have all of our constituencies together in one place so we can share. So again, thank you for your time. As John said, well, as we always do, it's best for us to tell our story through our clients, through our partners, and the things we're doing together. And so I'm going to just make a few comments up front, but then we're really going to bring our partners out and let them tell their stories themselves. And they're phenomenal stories. So we heard yesterday from Ginny and from the team that, you know, we've been transforming IBM to get ready for this moment where data is what's going to differentiate the winners from the losers for the next phase, if you will, of enterprise IT. And John talked about it as well. We obviously need terrific systems. I also would like to thank my friend Tom Rosamilia. Thank you. We'll just keep saying it all day. So data matters. The companies and the partners who help those companies build the right cognitive solutions on the right cloud with the right industry expertise, really, really important, are those that are going to win in the next phase. So we've transformed IBM. We've transformed the way we work. John went through some of the elements of that today. We transformed how IBM works with its clients. We transformed just about all parts now of IBM. We changed the way we allocate capital. We built new businesses, all because we saw very early that the platforms that are being built with data on cognitive cloud platforms are the ones that are going to drive the future. So today, and Ginny said it as well, today we're at an inflection point. IBM is, our partners are, our clients are, and what happens next is really how we take advantage of what's out there. So tech is pervading every aspect of society. You can't pick up the paper. I mean, in the last few days have been really, really robust discussions around data. Maybe not all in a positive way, but you can clearly see the impact that data is having on society and it's having on our businesses. So as more and more of these connections are made, We need to, you need to put all of that into the context of industry. It's the third leg of our stool. When we talk about how IBM's built its strategy, we talk about data, we talk about cognitive, we talk about a cloud, an enterprise cloud, and then we talk about that vector of industry and how important it is to us. Again, we'll let our clients speak for us. In terms, is the quote up? Did I already go off the quote? What happened to the quote? Thank you. I probably screwed that up, but that's okay. So the quote, though, captures something that's really important. And what's important about this quote, when we shorthand it in IBM, because we shorthand everything, think about this as show up and tell a good story. This puts a little bit more meat on that, this quote does, but I think it's important that right now we all recognize that the stakes are high. The stakes are high because the world's going to start changing very rapidly, and it's going to set. The platforms are going to set. The future is going to start to set and solidify. You got to make a good first impression. Obviously, the quote, that's always true. But importantly, industry context is critical. So when we talk about show up and tell a good story, it's really about this idea. It's really about this idea that you need a cognitive platform. You need to show good industry skills. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of data as well. So while that world is happening, while that world is shifting, the people with whom we're dealing is also changing. The buyer is changing. So the traditional IT buyer still makes a lot of decisions, but in our work, in the research we do, 60% of these new digital businesses are going to be led by non-IT roles, 60%. CEOs, C-suite executives, line of business owners, they control over half the budgets, over half. And our view is they're likely growing faster than that traditional IT is. So the future is, again, it's got a technology component, it's got an industry component, and part of what we've had to transform is to recognize that our buyers are changing as well. These buyers, by the way, and the reason we've spent so much time on our own digital platform, these buyers also are highly self-directed. The time they call us now on our Salesforce, the time they call you, they've done a lot of work already. So we have to make sure that IBM, you have to make sure that your solutions are consumable the way they want to be consumed, again, because those line of business buyers are different and they behave differently than our traditional buyers. And then finally, when we think about the success of our own teams, industry expertise, again, is what they're absorbing. That's what we're sending out in the field. And more than 70% of the CEOs say that those industry platforms are going to integrate with their partners, and that's what they're focused on. So some statistics, but again, it all points to this idea that industry really, really matters. That's, by the way, true if they're thinking front office. It's true if they're thinking back office, whether you're working on consumer loyalty or compliance. It's true across the use cases that we see. So it's not just about differentiating your technology. It's not just about differentiating your service. It's showing up, telling a good story on an industry context with industry expertise. For us and for our sales force, when we dig through all the math, our sellers who have deep industry expertise are 1.7 times more likely to make their quota than those who don't. That's a pretty good statistic. By the way, we share this with our teams as well. It's one of the ways we encourage them to continue to educate themselves and get deep industry expertise. So we've built our strategy, again, around industry expertise as a critical element. So I don't think that we necessarily are the only ones who can make a compelling case for industry, but I think our business partners can as well. So we asked 3 of our business partners, each in different parts of their journey, each with really, really useful lessons, focused on high value, all focused on high value. And whether you're in that highly specialized sort of space or you're in a reseller, there is a path here for high value that you have to embrace, understand, and learn from. So each of these partners has motivating stories. So let's take a look at a video first. Again, I'll stop telling the story. Let's hear it from our partners themselves. First up is the co-founder of Blue IT and the CEO of Be Digital, and that's Paolo Mazza.
Buongiorno. Wow, can we do it again? Buongiorno. Okay, I feel fine now. I feel at home. But I need a little help from you to tune my story. And however, I know that you are quite competitive ones, so you can take it as a test if you want. So raise your hand if you know what software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service is. That's good. The cloud platform, so it's a common base for us. And now a little bit more difficult. How many of you have ever heard about managed service providers? Wow, quite a few. So you are in the right conference. That's the good news. You win. So you know that the managed service provider is someone that is just taking care and monitoring the IT asset for its clients. And this is what Blue IT is, okay? I ask you to please take this in mind for later, because it's important for me. Then I have one last question, which is, how many of you have ever heard about precision farming as a service? Okay, no one, unless Ronald. Ronald, okay. But you still win, because that's the reason why I'm here, okay? So the story goes in 3 steps, so let's go to step 1. Step 1 is about precision farming, which is a big, big revolution that is going on in agriculture. And I'm sure that you were yesterday to Ginny's speech, and maybe you have seen some pictures on the screen about technology and agriculture. It's something that is going on very, very quickly. So precision farming as a service is a concept that Blue IT developed during the Watson Bill competition that took place last year. And it has to do with applying AI to agriculture, okay? Agri-food is a huge and a very interesting market, but if you try to produce high-quality products on a large scale, you face a very, very, very rigid cost structure that prevents you to be so profitable. So we decided to combine monitoring drones with high-resolution cameras and GPS sensors so that you can have a georeferenced map of the field. And we trained Watson Visual Recognition API to identify specific disease and specific insect attacks, okay? So in that way, we call that the BioBot Guard. This is our solution. BioBot Guard so gives to the producers a daily report with the risk map on the field, so they can decide to send operational drones to put the treatment just when and where is needed. That's why it's precision farming. And this is very nice because therefore they can just gain a lot of control on the field, and they also gain profitability and sustainability. So we are ready for the step 2. How did we get here? You remember that we are an MSP, so how an MSP should embrace innovation and take advantage of these big, big trends in innovation. It's not easy, because you raise your hand, you know that for an MSP, it's a tricky point. In the innovation process, you know that failure means learning. For an MSP, failure means giving back money to their customer. So it's not easy. That's why we decided to create a specific innovation lab that we call Be Digital. And Be Digital is the place of the group in which crazy things can happen. Or, if you want, crazy thing it's allowed to do crazy thing over there, okay? So, step 3. You think about it, and every innovation seems very crazy when you start, until it works and it sells. But be careful, because the ones that fail are not so crazy, because you learn a lot along the way. And in my experience, I've noticed a thing that has to do with talking to a customer about innovation. And there's a very huge difference in telling them our technology is amazing and what it could do, and telling them what you did with this technology. And this is something that you already know. But what is even more important is that nothing compares to tell them how not to use it. So that's why I mean that failure during the process are a great, great asset that you can get. So let's get back a bit to the BioBot Guard story, because the project is going further, and you know, we cannot just stand still. The very nice thing that I have to tell you is that we participate in this competition and we won it. So we are the global Watsonville champions here in front of you. So it was a very nice story. But before that, we participated in the geography finals. So we are also the Europe geography champions. But the good story is that all of you have its own geo champion. Okay, each of you have one of them. So my suggestion is just to talk with them. They are very smart guys, very funny, and beautiful human beings. They will help you to understand how to get involved in the competition. It's very fun and it's very useful. So I was telling that you can't stop. We live in a moment in which you can't not stand still because it's too quick. So innovation is not a project, it's a process. You have to keep it going. So we couldn't stop, and we are currently training Watson to do predictive maintenance on vine crops for a specific harmful disease for wine. So you know what is very strange is that we currently have in our office 1,000 basil plants over there. Isn't that a weird thing for an IT company? It's weird. Of course it is. But my hope is that after what you just heard, you have a different reaction if my question is, do you still think it's crazy? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo. Thank you. It does sound pretty extreme, by the way.
Yes, it's extreme.
Not judging.
Like yellow shoes on stage.
No, that's fine.
That's the idea.
That's fine.
That's
Can I borrow this, Paolo? So you're probably the only MSP that has 1,000 basil plants in the probably.
Probably.
I don't want to make a definitive statement, but probably. The biggest number we got so far is like 920, so you're still in the lead.
If someone wants to join, it's fun.
So how does it happen, by the way? How do you get, I know how you get 1,000 plants, but talk a little bit more about it.
I will start from the beginning, because Blue IT was born at the end of 2008, just a couple of months after the Lehman Brothers collapse. So you remember that moment, that feeling. I think you all remember about this. So we knew from the beginning that this is a time of deep and very unexpected changes. So we knew from the very beginning that we had to keep moving. So what we do is that whenever a rising technology is coming out, we study it, and then we apply it to ourselves as first customers. We don't want to pilot our customers. And doing this is very, very useful, because we created one of the most important assets of the company is our innovation paradigm. So we are using it whenever we want to innovate our design portfolio. So to give you an example, for BioBot Guard, where did the idea came from? We use two different points. The first one is a methodology which is hidden market research, which means simply, if you want, simply to try to look for an industry in which you can apply the same thing you do, but even if it's far, it has the same needs. And the second point was that we are Italian. We think that during the competition, we thought that we had something to do about healthy food for everyone. So, so we chose agri-food. And now you have to remember what I said at the beginning. In agri-food, assets are the crops. Okay, so we thought, okay, why don't we monitor and take care of crops instead of servers, applications, and network, and it works. So this was more or less the idea, but the final idea was that we think that technology is meant to change the world for the better. So we wanted to help producers to give healthy food and high quality product for everyone, because we think that we, business partner, in this moment, has a great role in taking the opportunity of leveraging AI and Watson. And what I would like to urge you, and I very like to say it, is that with augmented intelligence comes augmented responsibility. So we can have really a great impact in changing the world altogether.
Good. Thank you, Paolo. Terrific. Very well done. And you know, we talk about differentiation, but between 1,000 basil plants, yellow shoes, and the creation of precision farming as a service, I think you got a good shot on differentiation here. So our next story is from Phil Godwin. He's the president and the chief operating officers of Clear Technologies. So please welcome Phil.
Thank you guys all for having me. Thank you, Martin. So before I get started, I just want to point out they put me in the middle because Paulo and Nigel have better accents than me. I'm from Texas. Anyways, to get started, when I was asked to come speak today, of course we're at Partner World, so I picked 3 things to talk about: transformation, IBM storage, and milk crates. So to start, I just wanted to take you through our journey of transformation. Clear Technology started 25 years ago as an IBM business partner and was very focused in the infrastructure space: storage, server, compute, data center, like a lot of the partners out here that we've known for a long time. That was great through the first 15 years of our existence. As the market started to evolve and change, we realized we had to differentiate ourselves and do different things. In 2008, 2009, we kind of looked at the market and said, we're all starting to look the same. Every person that's in the audience out here, I know a lot of you, you're all nice people, and you all have really smart technical people working for you. We do too, right? So how do we start to differentiate ourselves in the market? And that's when we decided to start Visual Storage Intelligence. Visual Storage Intelligence is a storage reporting and analytics cloud-based offering that we use in 2 different ways. One is we use it to engage with new clients in competitive storage space to have meaningful conversations and add higher value. 2, we sell it as a software as a service. And the cool thing about it is not only do we do that, but some other partners in the room do that as well with Visual Storage Intelligence. So I wanted to share a story of a recent client experience that we had of the value that we saw from Visual Storage Intelligence. There was a client we were working with, and they used Visual Storage Intelligence. We met with them to do a technical review. And it was clear, it was standing out that there was some workloads in some of their analytics space that had extremely high latency. We could tell that from the reporting. And we went and met with the infrastructure team. We pointed that out to them, and they said, you know what? That's been bothering us for a couple of months now, and we really need to deal with it. In fact, I think the application guys are meeting with another vendor right now trying to figure that out. And so we took them through it, and they said, how would we fix it? And we told them, well, IBM Flash, right? It's going to be faster, it's going to perform better, it's going to reduce that latency, which is going to in turn reduce the response time. And we went and put in an IBM Flash array, and the results were incredible. The client saw a 66% reduction in reports running, which ended up saving them $2.2 million a year, or quarterly, excuse me. So we were able to show that higher level of value to that client by doing the same things that we had always done. The next piece, so Visual Storage Intelligence has been a big part of our story for the last 8 years. The next phase of our transformation, we decided to go a little further. We've all been coming to these conferences for a long time, and we hear a lot of conversations about how do we talk to line of business. Martin said earlier that 60% of IT decisions are going to be made by line of business executives, not in IT. So how do we start to capitalize on those? And what we decided to do is take what we learned from analytics in the storage space and start a new venture around IoT and AI, leveraging a lot of IBM's products around analytics, around some of the Power AI vision. And we're working on a project right now with a company called Dean Foods. Dean Foods is a large milk producer in the United States. And so this is where I'm going to get to the milk crates, right? Some of you might have thought I was weird earlier, but milk crates are an issue for milk companies. The loss of milk crates. So some of you might have those in your garage. Some of you might have had those in your dorm room when you're in college. I hear these stories regularly. But that's not where all the loss comes from. That's some of the loss. Some of the loss comes from people selling them to plastic grinders for, recycled plastic. There's a lot of things. And this problem for Dean is a $30 million a year problem. They turn over 100% of their milk crates every 39 weeks due to loss. So it's a big issue. There's a lot of different technologies that could be leveraged. The one that's most interesting, everybody says, why don't you do RFID? Well, so then when you lose those milk crates, you usually lose more because you lose those tags as well. But that's the simple one. We actually partner with IBM and are using Power AI Vision, and we count the milk crates. Now, what good does that do? So a truck goes out on a route. We count the milk crates as they get loaded on the truck, and then we count the milk crates that come off that truck when it comes back. So every truck should leave with a number of milk crates full of milk, and it should come back with empty milk crates. Once we do that, we can start to identify the routes that are the problem. That gives that data to the business to be able to go back and talk to the clients on that route, to start to figure out, is there a problem? Are they putting them on the back dock where people can take them? Should they put a case there for them to put them in? Whatever that may be. So anyways, the cool thing is we're seeing a 33% reduction of loss through doing that by leveraging Power AI Vision and video to do those things. So in closing, there was a couple of things I wanted to share about our journey. Our clients are very important to us. So what we wanted to make sure is we started to add new offerings, new different things to our set of toolbox to take to market. We wanted to make sure that our clients were happy. So we deployed it about 2 years ago, a Net Promoter Score process to make sure that we're tracking our client satisfaction, and we've been able to keep that at the highest levels possible. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is partnering with partners. We've all heard that a long time. How do we partner with partners? This year at Partner World, I've probably spent as much time with other partners as I have with IBMers, because as we all start to transform and differentiate ourselves, now's the time more than ever to partner with each other. Right? As we start to differentiate ourselves, people can leverage what we do, like I know some of the partners do around visual storage intelligence. We can leverage some of the things that other partners have decided to do. So thank you guys all, and hopefully we can all spend time together.
Well done. Well done. So you talked a little bit about how we expanded the offerings and the reach, which was done very thoughtfully, by the way. So thank you for that. Can you talk a little bit about how you approach that transformation? How do you decide, what capabilities do we build out? What investments do we make?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I mentioned the Net Promoter Score and our clients. Everything we've done has been 100% client driven. So when we started Visual Storage Intelligence, the day that we started development was the day that we started customer council. So we didn't go out and raise money and decide to start a software company and come up with our own use cases. We've been using use cases from our clients. And as we've transformed from a traditional reseller into a company that has our own intellectual property, there's been a lot of challenges that have come with that. One, we had to learn about software development. Two, marketing, I think, was the biggest concern that we ended up with was, as a reseller, we always took the manufacturer's data, marketing information, and we leveraged it. As soon as it's our own products, we had to develop from the beginning. So there's been a lot of differences in how we've had to go to market, but the key thing there is that clients always come first. Don't try and make decisions on your own. Make sure that we have client buy-in before we do anything.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I think, again, clear here is that you do have to change. We had to change. They changed the way they operated. They changed the way they did things and thought about the market a bit differently. One more story for you, and that story comes to us from Nigel Hook, who is the Chief Executive Officer and the founder of DataSkill. Nigel?
Financial services, for the longest of time, has been the leader in the application of information technology. Think systems of record, right? That's where it came from. ATMs go back decades. They've always been on the forefront of technology. With one exception. That exception is the operations of trade finance, which really, in my opinion, is really the heart of a banking system. It's where trades are actually processed. This trade finance operations is still a holdout of automation. It's actually the last bastion of manual processed work where you have all these intelligent, skilled people pouring through documents, reading them, understanding them, and entering that data into a keyboard. It used to be a typewriter, yes, but now a keyboard. And so that process is very inefficient. It's like having 10 lanes on a freeway coming down at high speed to 1 lane. Utter congestion, right? So let me tell you about this. This is a weak link in a big chain. It's a very big chain. The World Trade Organization states that global trade is about a $40 trillion industry, give or take a few trillion, I guess. And they also state that 80 to 90% of those trades are financed. So either way you look at it, global trade finance is at least a $30 trillion industry. $30 trillion. So imagine now you're having shipping manifests, invoicing, bills of lading, letters of credit, documents with legal consequences flowing off dot matrix printers, sometimes on a ship, maybe at a port, out in the rain. Cell phones don't work that well, right? It's a very, very difficult environment to transfer data. And so this industry in this area is heavily reliant on thousands of people. Our client has 4,000 people, highly skilled people. It's an aging population. These skills take a long time to read and understand these legal documents. And sometimes they're very messy. They may be smudged, they don't get OCR'd well. Some people stamp the address in the wrong box. They'll put the amount of a transaction in the account number field. It's very high amount of errors that you see in these type of documents. And so people are doing this day by day, by hand. In actual fact, humans are very good at doing this. Intuitively, a human can actually look at a page, see maybe the vessel number's missing, maybe flick through and find out if there's a vessel number there which matches this particular trade. So humans are intuitively very good at doing this. But in addition, while they're doing this, they also have to be looking out for screening sanctions. Very, very difficult job. It's slow, it's expensive, and it's not scalable. Lots of errors. And at the end of the day, it determines who gets paid or not. This is a major risk, a serious risk for our client, which is actually one of the largest banks in global trade finance. And we're working with them in their main area, hub area in Singapore. And they're the #1 rated global trade finance bank in the frontier marketplaces. This is like Africa, the Middle East, Latin America, all the growth markets. So it's a business which is growing very rapidly. So what we did is we set about automating this system. And basically it comes into 3 areas. And I'll mention the products first. So it uses DataCap for the OCR, uses Watson Explorer for the natural language processing. It also uses IBM content classification, and it uses DataSkill's Akumi algorithm, data find and data learn. So what this does is it automates the reading of these documents, interpreting these documents, extracting all of these fields, and automatically putting them into the trading system. And to do that, to do that effectively is actually a very hard problem to solve. And so a key part of that is not only finding the right machine learning algorithm, because they're 10 a penny out there, but it's finding the right method which applies to this specific problem, and then actually morphing it into the workplace, forming a system, a user experience, which mimics the way these 4,000 people work. So it doesn't interrupt them, but it's looking at what they do. It's seeing how they capture these clues of where the missing data or the smudged data is. Then actually feeding that back into the machine learning algorithm so that it learns and gets better. You might ask yourself, because this is really the centerpiece for me of being here on the stage, and that's how did a company, our company is based out of San Diego, about 45 people, how do we get the opportunity to do this for one of the world's largest banks across the other side of the planet? And what's important about this is that having such a large customer with this mass amount of data, it really helps to transform these algorithms, so keep that in mind. But it really, so we developed this algorithm many years ago, and you know, I think there is a difference in the way business partners think compared to IBM, right? Not better, not worse, but different. We're potentially more entrepreneurial driven, right? Maybe there's a different style of energy. There's a different relationship with our customers. Maybe this intimacy with the customers actually sparks this ingenuity. But you take that, we created this Akumi algorithm, what are we going to do with it? Working with IBM, we were able to place it in this opportunity. So it's the power to be able to leverage the IBM brand known around the world, the IBM presence around the world. And most importantly, I think, from that is the IBM products and platform. But at the end of the day, what that gets you to the table to compete in a deal like this, but what really wins it is this disruptive technology, and that's what we delivered here. So you might ask yourself, what's next? And one of the most interesting things about artificial intelligence is, I'm not sure we really know where it's going to go, right? But in this case, we have 4,000 experts that are working day by day as this solution becomes fully operational. These experts are training this machine on how to interpret all this messy data automatically. So the speed and the precision goes way up. The scalability now is pretty much infinite. And now every transaction can be screened for sanctions and compliance with regulations and other nefarious activity. This is going to revolutionize the world. And we're here with this technology. We're all in the same boat where we can share that the future is starting now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you. Really, really well done. So, you started talking a bit about how this is a leading bank in Singapore. You're not in Singapore, right? You're an AI firm, right? So how do you talk a little bit more about how do you make all that happen? I mean, it doesn't just happen like that, right? Must take a little while.
Yeah, it didn't happen overnight. It could have. I mean, timing is one thing, right? Timing is. Well, this actually was a very long sales cycle, about 2.5 years, which gave us time, though, to build a solution for the problem they had. This actually went out to bid, competitive bid, RFP, and we won it with IBM. And so what enabled, though, is the time it took during the sales cycle to develop the right algorithm, to match the right methods to solve this problem. And that really is the key to being persistent in the sales cycle and being able to get the right technology into the solution, right? So we've been down this path for a partner with IBM for 21 years now. And we've had lots of opportunity the last few years with partnering with Watson. We've opened offices in the UK, in Latin America, Canada, and now Singapore, right? So it's really transformed our business. But it's actually more than just DataSkill and IBM. As you mentioned earlier, I think John mentioned, right, it's a very powerful ecosystem. And we got a lot of help from Ingram Micro, who's our 20-year IBM distributor. And we also had help from 2 partners. We're working with 2 partners on this solution. One of them may be here. If you're here, Schroeter, thank you, by the way. And it's really together, this is a $30 trillion marketplace. So I want to, if it's okay with you, Martin, I'd like to invite my fellow business partners here. If you'd like to contact me, Nigel Hook on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. If you've got skills in Watson Explorer, if you've got clients that are in trade finance, let's get together Let's make a dent in this $30 trillion market.
Terrific. Thank you very much. So, by the way, this is always selling, and 30 trillion. I mean, that's got to get somebody
Pretty big.
excited. Even we get excited about 30 trillion. So, I'd like to thank all of our partners here who told their stories. It's really clear that with a set of technologies, with an ecosystem, and with industry expertise, you can win, and you can win big. So please join me in thanking them. Thank you. Well done. Thank you. First you invite me, and then okay, that's how it's going to be, John? By the way, earlier John said, I spent a year negotiating and cajoling and debating and arguing, and that was just what he and I did. I don't know what he did with the rest of you. So, very inspirational stories. I mean, again, we kind of talked a lot about the industry importance, and all the three partners did a nice job of explaining why that's so important. So let me spend just a few minutes on the path we're down, and talk a little bit, and John did as well already, talk a little bit about the investments and what we're changing. So let me spend a minute on some data, if you will. We invest about $2 billion in our business partners. The biggest part, obviously, is incentives. That's about billion and change. We have 80 million dedicated to co-marketing. We have helped our partners train 41,000 technical and sales certifications and masteries in a year alone. So, I mean, among the many good things that we think we can help with is we do have scale, and we can bring scale to bear on the problems. We added 9,100 business partners globally just in last year alone, and John noted, our global financing business has provided $3.2 billion in customer financing. It's not the commercial side, customer financing in 2017. And what we find, and we find this because you tell us that those of you who use IBM financing in their proposals have a much higher probability of winning. So we do think. And 10 years ago, we used to say global financing is like our secret weapon. There's nothing secret about it. We're not trying to keep it secretive, but it is an enormously powerful tool in helping you close business. I'm going to finish on 2 points. First, again, I want to thank you for all you do with us, and for all the places you take us, and all the problems you help us and let us solve with you on behalf of your clients and our clients. We feel quite confident that as you move to higher value, as we move to higher value, there's a lot more out there for us. Nigel had 30 trillion. I'm okay with that number. I think that's a pretty good number for us to focus on. And I think we should all be pretty excited about the opportunity that's ahead of us. The other point, a little trivia for you. So. And I played hockey for a long time. I played hockey in college. While we were here or wherever you were in Think last night, there was actually another team in Las Vegas that won a game last night as well. There's a new team in the hockey league called the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, what's interesting about the Vegas Golden Knights is they're an expansion team. So for those of you who aren't that familiar with sports, your first year in the league is your year of an expansion team. We're not an expansion team anymore, by the way. We're 105 years. We're not an expansion team. The Vegas Golden Knights are an expansion team. And because of the way they built their team, because of the momentum they've built up, they are actually the winningest expansion team, not only in the history of hockey, in the history of all sports in this country. The winningest expansion team ever. Now, we're not an expansion team, but our markets change really, really rapidly. So because we're building new skills, because we're looking for new clients, because we're building new businesses and new solutions, I think the energy you get when you're competing like an expansion team can drag a lot of momentum, can create a lot of momentum, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you win. We think there's a big market, so let's go out and win. John, please.